believe it's very important when we talk about the power of women in the community that we think of women are not just contributors. It's not just about the gender gap. It's about how we empower women to be the drivers of innovation, to drive that inclusivity and that critical global impact.
Well, this is not a surprising fact that women currently make up less than 30% of the tech workforce. But what's more important to know is that even though we have a small representation, yet our perspective and talents are essential for building inclusive products and diverse teams.
As we look to the future, it's clear that empowering women in tech is not just a goal, it's a necessity. And by supporting and encouraging women to pursue careers in technology, we are building a stronger, more innovative and inclusive industry.
This is an opportunity to reconsider how women can be those bold leaders who can really inspire the next generation, who are showing those young girls what an amazing path it can be to find your place in STEM careers, to have that kind of role model and voice that can really support that diversity, not just in gender or thinking, but in non-linear career paths, and how we can really champion that through the Microsoft community, to really lead with empathy and to show how technical expertise and innovation knows no gender.
Technology doesn't see gender, it sees ideas, creativity, and collaboration. When we are bring our unique strength together, we can build solutions that truly change the world. Hello, everyone. It's wonderful to be here today and host another session. I'm Said, and on behalf of Microsoft Zero to Hero community, welcome to our final live session of the month. This month has been a truly special for us, for everyone, as we dedicated to celebrating women in tech. It's been inspiring to take the time to reflect on incredible impact women are making in the world of technology, from leading groundbreaking innovations to breaking barriers and paving the way for future generations. This message reminds us why communities like ours are so important. It's not about what separates us, it's about what unites us. When we work together, supporting and leading, learning from one another, we create an environment where everyone has the chance to thrive. That's the power of the diversity and having these kind of things in technology work. And that's beauty of teamwork, right? So with that said, I'm going to share my presentation here. So as you can see today, we close out the inspiring months. We are so lucky to have Michelle as our speaker. Michelle is not only a leader in a tech space, but also a shining example of what's possible when passion, collaboration, and expertise come together. I'm confident her insight will leave us all motivated to push boundaries and keep growing together as a community. So, as usual, about Microsoft Learn community. This is a place where people from all over the world come together to connect, learn, and grow their skills. Whether you are just starting your learning journey or looking to level up your career, this community is perfect place to make it happen. By joining Microsoft Learn Learning Hub, in the tech community, you'll get access to the latest news, dive into insightful the discussions and find new way to develop the skills you need. So it's all about learning together and sharing. So if you would like to join or learn more about Microsoft Learn community, the link aka.ms/Microsoft Learn community. And if you would like to join Microsoft Zero to Hero learning rooms, you can use the short link of aka.ms join Zero to Hero. Of course, you are welcome to follow us on social medias and subscribe our YouTube channel. Don't forget to check the ring bell to make sure that you're getting the latest update of our YouTube channel. As you know, we already released the calendar of December. It's a kind of Christmas theme. So make sure that you have registered for all of sessions so we can pack and wrap up the December month of calendar with huge of content that we are going to share. And also we are going to share some new updates regarding the community. So make sure that you register for all of the sessions. And the last one is code of conduct. So in Microsoft Zero to Hero community live session, we expected you to be aware of others, be friendly, be welcoming, be open all questions and viewpoints, be understanding of difference, and be kind and considerate to the others. So I'm going to bring Michelle to the stage. Hello, Michelle. Welcome to our stage.
Hey, thank you. I'm super excited to be here.
Amazing, amazing. Michelle, you are working for Microsoft for a long time, and you are one of those super active in the community, and you are sharing, not only you are sharing your knowledge, but also you're inspiring people around you. So what is, inside you, what is that pushing you to do this without, with this level of energy?
Well, what they always tell you when you're growing up, they say that the goal in life, in your career, is to find something that you love to do and then find someone that will pay you to do it. And that is what I think has happened to me at Microsoft. I have found a role where I can work with the developer community, where I can go amongst them and help people to learn to build on Azure, to level up, to support each other. And Microsoft will pay me for that. So I can't help but feel joy when I do it. And work-life balance. I'm not a good one to talk on that because it is my passion and it is my job. And so in the evenings, at the weekends, I am often at meetups and conferences. And I find it hard to take any time back because any time I take back is time away from the community, which I love. So
yeah, it's amazing. When I've told people in the community that we are going to have you for the final session of this amazing Woman in Tech month, and they said, wow, you are going to have Michelle on stage. She's so amazing. And out there, many people admire you. So, and it's pretty much true. I agree with them. The way that you share your knowledge and your passion and the energy that you are sharing with community, it's always appreciated. So thank you so much. And it's something from all people that they know you.
I think I need to call you more often so that you can say these nice things to me.
Yeah, I learned from people like you, right? Inspire each other,
That's very true. Definitely, you should always surround yourself with people that inspire you, and it makes you better, for sure.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Perfect. With no delay, let's start the presentation. So good luck. People enjoy of this presentation and knowledge that Michelle is going to share with you. Enjoy.
Thank you. Okay. So, overcoming your imposter syndrome with GitHub Copilot, what I have done here is I have tried to combine my two passions. So I want to help encourage people to have confidence, to believe in themselves, to believe in the work that they put into their career and not just think it's all luck or it's the way the world works. And I also want to talk to people about GitHub Copilot because it is absolutely my favorite of all the Copilots. So I tried to mash the two topics together, and I hope that you find it useful and fun. But it's, oh, what has happened? Oh, yes, that's okay. I'm worried that I'll disconnect because my internet is a little bit sketchy. So hopefully we will stay there. Okay, so if you are not already connected to me on all of the socials, I would love it if you would. That QR code will take you to my link tree, and you can just click on a button to connect to my socials. Or if you prefer to see a fuller link, you can see them there. On LinkedIn, do click on the three dots and say connect. Don't just follow. And if you send me a little message saying that you were in this community call, then I will definitely accept you. So it's a really good way to be able to ask me questions after this event if you want to. The other thing is my YouTube channel. I have above 600 subscribers, which is not very many compared to all of these people who have hundreds of thousands or millions, but I'm really trying to build it up. So I would appreciate it if you would subscribe to that. I have some playlists on there where I put stuff in that is useful to people to learn and grow and build on Azure, not just my stuff, but other stuff that is useful. So hope you will join me there and subscribe. Okay, so in the past year, I've been around the world at a load of different conferences, visiting a lot of different countries and speaking on the stage about GitHub Copilot, or my other favorite topic is Azure, responsible AI and content safety. So it's been wonderful. I've met some great people. I've seen some beautiful countries, but people will often ask me, how did I get the confidence to be speaking on the stage? How did I, how am I not afraid to go into all of those places and talk about stuff? And I let them into a little secret. A lot of speakers, a lot of people who do public speaking and speak at technical conferences are very, very shy, introvert people. And the reason they got into public speaking is a bit of a life hack. What they discovered was, if you stand on the stage at the front of a conference, you don't need to approach strangers and introduce yourself and think of intelligent things to say, give them your elevator pitch, try and be memorable. What happens is, if you were the one standing on the stage, then people will come to you and they will ask you questions about the topic that you already know about. They will introduce themselves to you. They will be happy to see you. And so if you are shy, if you are introvert, as I know many in my developer community are, many women are, and really, it can happen to anyone. You can be self-conscious, introvert, shy, humble, just anxious about being amongst a lot of people. This is the way that I have overcome it, and this is the way that I'm able to find my friends, in that friends come to me rather than me having to go to them and think of things. And it's a very common thing around public speakers. You will find they are shy, they are introvert, they are quiet in their personal lives. So don't, like, when you're at those conferences and you're afraid to approach people, don't be afraid to approach the speaker. If you go and tell them that you appreciated their content and ask them one or two questions, they will be very, very happy to meet you and to hear about that. So what I'm going to talk to you today is about imposter syndrome. Now, I don't know whether there is anyone here that doesn't know what imposter syndrome is, but what it is a psychological phenomenon that where people doubt their skills, their talents, their accomplishments, and have a persistent fear of being exposed as frauds. So it can happen to anyone, and they may experience, or you may experience, anxiety, depression, low self-confidence, frustration. And often people attribute success to luck, to timing, or to deceiving others rather than their own abilities. Now, as I get older, I give less of a shit about what other people think, but I still remember how hard it was earlier in my career to ask for help, and how much it would have helped if I had someone to go to without judgment. And by earlier in my career, I mean like last week, because it doesn't really actually go away. Those doubts that you have, those fears, that voice inside your head that holds you back from opportunity is not your friend. And I hear it from so many people where they're on stage and they accept an award, or they are offered an opportunity and they say, oh, it was just luck. Oh, it was, it wasn't, they try and deflect that it was their hard work that got them there, and they attribute it to other things. Do not listen to that voice in your head that tells you you are not good enough. It is not your friend. So there are actually 5 types of imposter syndrome, according to researcher Dr. Valerie Young. We have the perfectionist, the expert, the superperson, the soloist, and the natural genius. And I am going to talk about each of those today and give you some examples. So, the expert. This type involves feeling like a fraud because you don't know everything there is to know about a subject or topic. And I see this a lot from people when we're talking about speaking at conferences or at meetups or at something like speaking in this community. People will often say, oh, I'm not expert enough to talk about a topic. That's a crazy thing working in technology, because every single night there's hundreds of new updates and things released. The world is changing all the time around us with technology, and it is really impossible, I think, to keep up with all the changes and everything that happens all the time. The only way that you could become a true expert in something is if you picked a really niche, narrow field and studied only that tiny thing and did that tiny thing every day. But in our heads, we never think we're good enough to talk about anything. And in fact, what you'll find if you go to conferences, and indeed if you listen to meetups and communities like this, you will often see people presenting, and they will present from their perspective, where they are at their point. So at conferences, for example, there might be someone who is a beginner in something, presenting on how they learned to do this new thing. And they will tell you the way that they learned it. They will tell you the problems they overcame. They will tell you the things that they did and what went wrong and how they overcame it. And that is super interesting, whether you are someone who is much more senior in your career or whether you're a beginner. Understanding how someone learned something and how they overcame their problems is interesting to everyone. So don't think that you need to wait until you've got 20 years experience in something and feel like you know everything, because in fact, there is no point where you will ever feel like you know everything. Now, there is a MVP called Lars Klint, who is a great friend of mine. He is a wonderful guy. And this was kind of brought home to me very much watching him when he was presenting at the Techeron conference in Belgium. He was presenting on a new topic of cognitive services, and there were a bunch of new services that had come out, and they had barely been out a month or two. Lars has this amazing style where he likes to ask the audience to ask him questions throughout. And so people were putting up their hands and they were asking him questions as he was presenting. And as he went through it, every question the audience asked, he did not know the answer to because it was such a new topic. And so he would write down the question and he would say, I don't know this right now, but I'm going to find that out and I will come back to you. And he did his presentation, which was amazing. It showed us all the things that he did know about that stuff and helped us have an understanding of the topic. But he had a whole page full of questions from the audience, and he hadn't been able to answer a single one. And so I went up to him afterwards and I was like, wow, Lars, that was amazing. It was a really, really good presentation. I learned so much. But isn't it really hard when people ask you questions and you don't know the answers? And he just laughed at me and he said, no, Michelle, what I have here on this page is the content for my next conference presentation. I know now all of the things that people want to know about these new services, and I will research them. I will learn how to do them. And then I will put that all into a presentation for the next conference talk, which, it really was like mind-blowing for me, that the idea that those not knowing something is not a weakness, it is an opportunity for learning and for continuous improvement, for growth, and for enabling the next thing that you're going to engage in. So like that I love. So the way to overcome this particular kind of imposter syndrome is to develop a growth mindset and to embrace your learning opportunities. Be like Lars. Okay, so I said I'm going to show you some how I use GitHub Copilot to overcome my imposter syndrome. Now, what I have here is a demo where I'm going to ask it about Git. No one understands Git. People will no one will admit it. Everyone will say they do understand it, but they do not. And this is no need to do that now when you have GitHub Copilot. You can ask it what are the commands. You can ask it any questions that you need. I asked it stuff like, do I need to be in the directory that's in the main directory when I do these commands? Do I need to be do I need to call it the same thing that I have called it locally on my machine? And it answers all of those questions for me. Now, then when it comes up with errors as well, I can just paste that error into GitHub Copilot and it will tell me in natural language what that means. So that error there is I've tried to push to main, and in fact, it's not called main, it's called master in GitHub, but I don't want it to be called master. That's not very PC these days. And so it told me how to change it to main before I pushed it up there. And I think it's like that kind of being able to ask it all the things that you consider to be stupid questions is really a key part of it, that you can get all of your millions of questions out of your head. You don't have to context switch by going to the internet and researching. In the past, I would have gone to Google or Bing and I would have, said, what are the Git commands? What do I need in order to push something locally from my machine to GitHub? And it's not that you're doing those all the time. Of course, you remember them. If you're not doing them all the time, you don't remember them. And then to have to context switch takes you out of your flow, and it means that you can often get distracted by the internet or by email or whatever, and it can be a while before you come back to your code. So that I really like, that I can just ask it all the things that I consider stupid questions and it will get out of them. Okay, is that the same one? Yeah, that's the same one. Let me go to the next one. So I've got another one as well here where I just ask it to look at the entire code base. This is a new thing where you can say, look at the code base, not just the file I've got open, and explain it to me. So if I want to understand everything there is to know about a subject or topic, or indeed about the code in the repo, I can ask it to explain everything in there. So this is actually probably a mistake, because that's quite a big repository with quite a lot of stuff going on in there. So I asked it to explain it to me, and it's explaining all of these things, but I think lacking that's too wide for me to really understand what we're doing with the code here. So then I think again about, what do I want to do? Instead of using that explain command for the whole code base, I can ask it something else. Let's see, can you explain in detail how it works? Yeah, that's going to be a better question to it. So in the past, if I needed to understand a new code base that I was coming to, I might have had to sit with the team, talk to other developers. I try and read the code, but it depends how well commented it is as to whether I get that. Whereas here, I can ask a bunch of questions in advance of ever sitting down with the rest of the team, so that when I join the rest of the team, or when I speak to a more senior developer, I have already got all of my basic questions out of the way, and I can just bring them the ones that I really couldn't understand from looking at it by myself and from discussing it with Copilot. So it gives me a lot of confidence around the fact that I'm not bringing a stupid question to a senior developer, and I'm using Copilot as my coach, as my friend, as my pair programmer, as my assistant, as my teacher. And I really it's showing me their little bits of code, explaining them to me, and it's giving me a conclusion as well on that. So I think that's a really, really nice way to use Copilot to try and explain things and help me by answering more and more comprehensive questions until I finally understand, or at least I understand enough to then go with confidence to a senior dev or the rest of the team and say, hey, I've tried to understand what's going on here. This is what I get. This is what I don't get. Can anyone explain to me why blah? And yeah, it makes things a lot more efficient for that collaboration, for that teamwork, but also for me to feel confident about approaching my team and knowing that what I'm asking them is not a stupid question, because that's always the fear in my head, that I'm bringing them stupid questions. Okay, what's my next? Next one is the perfectionist. So this type of imposter syndrome involves believing that you could have done better unless you were absolutely perfect. And of course, if anyone has attempted to be absolutely perfect, you will realize there is no such thing. There is always things that you miss, always things that you think afterwards, oh, I wish I had talked about that. I wish I had done that. Can't believe I missed that out. Can't believe I did that. My friend Layla, she's a really fine example of that. She's another MVP out of Belgium, and she preps and she preps and she over preps for absolutely every presentation that she delivers, which is beautiful because she does such a good job. Her presentations are amazing, and she's such a good teacher. She's such a good speaker. It's really impressive to see. So, but she will practice her conference talk in front of her little children. Her little girls will sit there watching her, and they will, their feedback is probably more, yay, mummy, you did a good job, than actual comprehensive feedback. But still, it helps her then take it to the next level, where she would do it at work for a lunch and learn with her colleagues, with her team, and get their feedback. And then she would take it to a meetup and do it there and get the feedback from the meetup. And then she would go to the conference. So It's really iteratively building your confidence about being about getting better, about seeking feedback and getting support from others. That's the way to overcome this form of imposter syndrome. Now let's see what GitHub Copilot teaches me. So again, I'm asking it for the whole code base. Looking at my code, could it have been done better? Oh, the other thing you can see is you can choose different models now in GitHub Copilot, which is pretty cool. I have 3 there, but I know some people have more than that. It will look at the code. So it's looking at the main Python file. And then it's saying, here are some improvements that you could do. It says potential improvements because it doesn't really know what you have in mind for your code. It doesn't really know what architecture you have in mind. And so it's offering some suggestions of commonly implemented things that people tend to like, but you don't have to implement all of those things. It's telling you what they are for and what they are about. Okay, then. Could you show me some other ways to code this function? So this is how I used to use GitHub Copilot when it first came out. I would ask it for like 10 different ways to code a particular function. And I would use the function that looked most like what I would have written. So it was kind of enabling me to write my code faster, but still in exactly the same way as I would have written it. And then when Copilot Chat came out, I kind of switched to looking at those different pieces of code and seeing which one looked better, which one looked faster, which one looked cleaner, which one looked, I don't know. So I'm asking it, could the code be any cleaner? And it will explain how you could do that. And what I would do is I would ask it to explain that code to me, because it isn't the code I would have written, that cleaner code, that more efficient code, that better code, perhaps. But it is code that might be better in terms of what my team wants. So, but I don't want to use code that I don't understand. So I would ask it to explain that code to me so that I could understand it. The other thing that's pretty cool is I can ask it to write tests for me. And here, it's not just giving me advice, but it's telling me I haven't got tests set up. Do I want to set them up? And it's enabling me to just click within the chat window and just to apply changes and to add stuff and set stuff up. When Copilot first came out, it would tell you how to write the code, how to write the tests. And I had to ask it questions like, should this test be a separate file? Should it be in a different directory? Should it, all of those things which are stupid, basic questions perhaps to a senior dev, but I'd never written tests before. And so those are questions I needed to have answers. Now it's kind of even more integrated that for me so that it will do like a lot of the setup. It will put it where it needs to be. It will show me that it's created the test file. It will create the test file with the correct naming convention. And I can I can ask it about bugs, and I can get it to help me correct those bugs. So yeah, it's it's a really cool thing because it really helps me understand that there is no such thing as perfection, I guess, because if I was to keep asking it questions, if I would keep saying, could I make it more object orientated? Could I make it more aligned to the other code bases in our organization? Could I make it faster? Could I make it more secure? It would continue to offer me suggestions. And there would never be a point where it would say, no, that's perfect. Stop. No, there's nothing else I can tell you. It will never do that because there is no such thing as perfection. But it Mentally, while I know that, and while we all know that, we often don't come to that conclusion ourselves until we have worked our way through it. And so GitHub Copilot here is helping me work my way through it. Okay, the next one is the super person. So I would imagine that if any of you have families, have kids, I mean, it's not exclusively about having kids. I've got 2 fur babies down here and 3 in total. And the super person, the feeling involves feeling like a fraud because you're trying to excel in multiple roles, such as work, such as family, and your personal life. So, maybe you feel like if you're like me and you're going to a lot of conferences and meetups at weekends and in the evenings, maybe you feel a little bit guilty that you are not at home for your family. You are not, maybe you're rushing off to work in the morning and you didn't get to be the one that took your kids to school, or maybe you weren't home in time for dinner and didn't get to spend time with your husband, wife, partner. And you start to feel like you're letting everyone down around you because you're not able to give 100% to everyone who wants something from you, which is, of course, crazy. There's no way that anyone could give 100% to everyone in their life, because that adds up to a lot more than 100%. As a developer, what I find has changed for all of us in the last 10 years has been this shift left thinking, which means that rather than just writing code now, need to write tests, need to know about security, and we need to do that a lot earlier in the development cycle than we did previously. So where I said I didn't know how to write tests, this is something that I have had to learn, where I think there's a lot of people who, when they were initially writing code, they committed their keys, and there's a lot of repos out there that probably had the keys directly there in the repo. Not anymore, because GitHub will help us with that. But anyway, in terms of how do you control those feelings in your real life, you want to recognize and challenge those negative thoughts. So you want to, where I acknowledged and said there's no way you can possibly do 100% for everyone in front of you, recognize that all those 100% add up to more than 100%. So it's not possible to give all of yourself to everything. Seek feedback and support from others. So where I was enjoying all of that positive reinforcement at the start of the call from our host, try and surround yourself with people who will big you up like that, who will give you that confidence, who will make you feel loved and valued. You don't want to surround yourself with negative, toxic people. Cut those people out of your life entirely. Do not think that you can change them or you can prove to them that you are awesome. No, those people, just like that voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough, should not be in your life. Cut them out and surround yourself with some positive people who will help lift you up, encourage you to do more and be more within your own capacity. Celebrating your achievements and acknowledging your strengths. I actually have a bunch of happiness jars. Actually, let me just grab one from there to show you what I mean. Oops, that way they go. So this is a happiness jar, and what it is my friend Priscilla gave me that first one. And what it is as when good things happen in your life, so maybe you won an award at work, or maybe your kid was at school and thanked you in their graduation speech, or maybe your boss said good job, or one of your teammates came to thank you for helping them on a project. And whatever it is that made you feel good, that made you feel happy, that made you feel recognized, and made you feel like you'd made a contribution, write it on a colored post-it note, put it in your happiness jar and save those till the end of the year. And then on New Year's Eve, which is the most depressing night of the year, because everyone looks back at the year and thinks, oh my goodness, I didn't achieve any of the things I wanted to this year. I thought I was going to lose weight. I thought I was going to start jogging. I thought I was going to get a bunch of Microsoft certifications. All of these things I have failed at. You can pick up your happiness jar and you can open it and you can read all of the great things you did actually achieve. And it will remind you that, in fact, you have had an amazing year and you've achieved so much. Oh, and the last thing for this one is, there is no shame in seeking professional help. And I don't just mean a counsellor, a therapist, someone to talk to, because mental health is super, super important. And I think since the pandemic, times have been very, very hard, especially in tech. And having someone that you can talk to, that you can share things with, that you can get things off your chest is a really important thing. But also, not just them, like childcare, getting someone to help with your kids, with your family, a cleaner. Like maybe your house is an absolute mess because you cannot clean it because both you and your partner have jobs. Get someone in to do that for you. It is, you cannot possibly do all of the things in your life that you need to. And it would be, yes, it would be great if you just seek a little bit of help and a little bit of assistance. No shame in that at all. Okay, so this is how GitHub Copilot helps me. So a super person expects to be able to do everything themselves and really fast, but GitHub Copilot helps in several ways. So it watches your code base for updates on dependencies, for security logs, for security bugs, for keys in your code, and it will automatically update and warn you and provide you with a safe place to store your keys. Actually, this isn't Copilot, this is GitHub itself within the repository. I'm always in such a hurry with my code that I don't create virtual environments, and I would often mess those up with all the dependency updates. But now I do all my coding in code spaces, and it creates a clean environment each time. And so you don't need to install any software. So instead of installing Python down to my local machine, when I'm using it in code spaces, if I open the repository with a PY file in there, it will automatically understand that it needs to have Python in that container, and it will put that in there for you. So it's a really, really cool, really cool, quick, easy way of keeping your workspace clean and saving you lots of time, and also protecting you with all of those security things. So, this is my other favorite thing, Copilot for pull requests. In the past, pull requests were always just updated that file or fixed that bug, whereas now Copilot knows what changes I have made in there, and it will make a summary for me of all the changes I have made in the code, and then it will put that summary in there with links to the code so that any reviewer can go and see what has happened. I can also ask it, or a reviewer can ask it in chat there, what is the implications of those changes? What do they mean? What will happen? So it can give reviewers confidence over what you've submitted in your pull request, and it can give you confidence that it has detailed all of the changes. The only difference here is that you shouldn't just let it put those details in without saying why. It doesn't know why you made the change. It doesn't know why you made the pull request. So if there is a why for that, you wanted to make it more efficient, you wanted to make it cleaner, you wanted to fix a bug, like say so in there. If it was linked to something, then it would know that, to an issue, then it would know that. But if it isn't, then do be aware that it can't see inside your head. So you have to add your own little bit to it. Do not let it do stuff for you. It should be doing stuff with you. It's there to augment your skills, to make you better and more confident and enable you to do stuff faster. It isn't there to do stuff instead of you. Okay, the natural genius. This one is one that I really hate this, and I see it so often. So I am a member of a bunch of women's communities. So we have one called She Codes, which is super, super popular in Perth, and it's growing across Australia. And there we are teaching women to code who have been in other careers for most of their life. And they will come, and this is the first time they have ever coded. And they will start to try and do it. And then they will say, oh, I'm just no good at this. Women aren't good at coding. Women aren't good at maths. And these are messages from our childhood that teachers inadvertently have reinforced and said, that TV and movies have inadvertently said. And, well, Instagram Life. The way that everyone has an Instagram Valencia filter over their lives so that it looks like the first time they touched a keyboard, they were a genius programmer. It looks like everything in their life is success, everything in their life works, everything in their life is perfect. And that is not it. It is not that way for anyone. One thing I always like to say to those women is no one ever walked out of the birth canal. When you were born, it took you almost 2 years to learn how to walk, how to eat, how to talk. And if you gave up on day one because you couldn't do those things immediately, that would be crazy. And so it is with all things, with learning to code, with any new skill that you learn in the workplace. You cannot expect to instantly pick it up and be brilliant at it. And where it seems like some people are, that is not the case. Even Tiger Woods, for example, he is a great golfer, not so great in other ways, but a great golfer. When he was a kid, he would come home from school and his dad would send him to the garage and put a golf club in his hand and have him hit golf balls into a net in the garage for hours until he couldn't lift his arms anymore because they hurt that much. And he did that every day of his life to become such a good golfer. It sounds like child abuse to me, but yeah, we learn how to get better at things. We do not no one is ever super talented to the extent that they don't need to learn and they just start doing something without any knowledge in their head. And I don't know if the universe gives it to them. And sometimes we need to remind ourselves of that. Everything takes work. Everything takes continuous improvement. And where it's difficult today, do it until you can't do anymore because you're frustrated, your head hurts, you're bored, you're weary, you're angry, whatever. Stop. Then go and take a break. Come back to that tomorrow. As long as you do a little bit each day, you will keep moving forward. And so it is in all things, not just learning, not just code, not just our jobs, but some days when you're feeling really sad, when you're feeling really worthless, when you're feeling like you can't do anything, like maybe you don't want to get out of bed, maybe you feel like something bad has happened and the whole world is against you, just do one thing. Just do one small thing that will be a step towards the light. Because if you sit still in your hole and don't do anything, you're not going to go anywhere, and tomorrow you're going to be in the same place. Just try and do one small thing in order to improve where you are going. Okay, so we start to see some of these recommendations repeated here. Recognize and challenge those negative thoughts. Celebrate your achievements and acknowledge your strengths. Develop that growth mindset and embrace your learning opportunities, and seek professional help if needed. Yeah, my main advice is one step at a time, a little bit of learning each day. Microsoft Learn is super for this, in fact, in that you'll notice if you log into Microsoft Learn as you're going through your training modules, it marks off as you do each page, as you do each topic. And it gives you a sense of progression. It gives you trophies, it gives you badges, and you can really see how you're moving forward. You can share those trophies and badges on LinkedIn. You don't need to wait for your final certification or you can, or to finish the whole thing, you can share the badges and modules as you go. And that really gives you a great sense of progression as you learn. And for those of you that have done associate or expert level exams, you'll know that when you do your resits, your renewals, it only tests you on the stuff that has changed since you did your last exam. And when you look at your Microsoft Learn profile, at those learning paths, they will have changed from 100% back down to like 80% or 60% or 95%. And so it will show you those bits that have changed, that have been updated. So you don't have to theoretically read the entire learning path again. You can just read the bits that have improved and changed since you did it last, which is, again, a really good way to not get overwhelmed by all the change in the world, all the additional learning that you need to do. Microsoft Learn is great at helping you stay on top of your knowledge. Okay, what does GitHub Copilot show us? So here is indeed how I was always using it at first. Can you explain the code to me like I'm a 5-year-old? This I really like because it breaks it down really simply for me, and it means that my brain doesn't get overloaded when I'm trying to understand something. And so it's talking about each of the things. I could ask for a greater explanation on any of those things if I needed it. So, for example, the way that I've got the keys in the code there, referring to environment variables, I could ask for more details on that. You can also, with extensions now, use at Azure, I can ask it a bunch of questions about my Azure and how this is connected to my Azure. So could you tell me what regions my Azure resources are in? That's cool, because I know a lot of developers get super annoyed by the infrastructure part of their code. They just want to be coding. They don't want to be going out to the Azure portal and looking up a bunch of other stuff. So it's telling me what my regions are for each of my resource groups, and that's pretty cool. So I can see I can see whether I have picked. So East US is going to be an expensive region for me because I'm in Australia and that's in the US, but I picked it because at the time it had all of those new services that I needed. And so, being able to ask stuff, Azure CLI, I'm not a fan. I know most developers would like to code all the time. And so using the Azure CLI is a great way to do it. But I really don't like that I don't know all of the commands that I need to know. But here I can ask GitHub Copilot to give me those commands. I can use that at Azure to get specifically the commands that I need to use. And I had a real breakthrough yesterday where I was trying to do stuff and it was just picking up a bunch of other subscriptions that I have, and I wanted it to use a specific one. And it told me how I could tell it, log in and authenticate against this subscription so that I could specifically spin up all my devices in there, which was really, really useful. So the soloist, This is definitely the type that I most associate with. For many, many years, I felt like I was a fraud if I had to ask for help, if I couldn't like understand it myself or learn it myself. And I really, really hated asking for help. I noticed only in the last few years, I had a grad hire, Gia. She's not a grad hire anymore. She's a proper grown up cloud solution architect. And I noticed that Gia, whatever room she was in, whatever call, she would ask a million questions. She was always the first one to have her hand up and ask questions. And she never worried that anyone was going to think that was a stupid question. And I noticed that, in fact, I didn't think those were stupid questions. I thought it made her look smarter for asking those questions. So I really tried to learn from my grad hire how to ask questions, how to not be afraid, how not to think that it makes me look stupid to ask questions, how to think, in fact, it makes me look smart to ask questions. And so I kind of flip that on its head. So yeah, recognizing and challenging those negative thoughts, seeking the feedback and support from others, and seeking professional help if needed. I asked for so much help this week and I got it, and I feel so good that those problems were all resolved. Okay, now this demo is me just asking, like, could you generate a REST API using Express.js and MongoDB? Now, there I am asking it to do like the entire thing for me. Oh, if you're wondering about why you might select a different model there, a good example that they used recently was if the code was particularly complex, you might want to pick one of those other models. So they were writing a chess game, and then they wanted to write it as a 3D chess game. So they used one of those other models to get a cleverer solution. But you don't want to use it all the time, because most of the time 4.0 is fine. Yes, people will often say, though, if you do that and you have it like write all of the code for you, is that not cheating? In this scenario, I don't know how to write a REST API. Writing a REST API is very important. Everyone's doing it these days. It's all the rage. And so I do need to know how to do it. I could absolutely go to Microsoft Learn and follow a learning path, and it would teach me how to build one REST API. But I couldn't ask Microsoft Learn questions about it. And what I'm doing here is I have had it show me how to do the code. I've asked it, and I'm asking it a bunch of questions about it. So it's teaching me as it goes how to do it, why we're doing it, what other things we need to connect, what things what else we need. Do I need any Azure resources or services? So there we go. So it says, no, I don't need them unless you want to deploy it as an application to Azure. Then you might want an app service and you need a Cosmos DB, and this is how you would do it. So it means that I can, learn about all of this stuff without context switching, and I can ask a bunch of questions. It's quicker, it's faster, it avoids context switching, it beats procrastination, and yeah, it's great for helping me build confidence in things that I don't know how to do, to the point that I can then start building them myself, and I am confident to go and ask questions to people around me and ask them for help. So this is an image that I that I had it create for me around asking for help. So Gia One time I went to her and I asked her to check my code for me. I'd done a demo like 8 times and it just kept failing and I couldn't see what the problem was. And she said, why would you come to me and not Graham? He's the senior dev. And I said, well, in fact, I asked Graham yesterday and he's the same age as me. So he was born in the same era. He went to university in the same timeline. He learned code from the same books. He learned to troubleshoot in the same ways. And when he looked at my code, he went through exactly the same steps that I had gone through, and he couldn't figure it out either. Gia looked at my code and she said, you have a capital letter in your file path. She saw instantly what the problem was because she wasn't blinded by her bias. So, yes, I realize that I'm at the top of the hour, so I'll just hurry a little bit through. Do want to just laugh at what the generative AI created there. I kept trying to get it to make a realistic developer, senior dev for Graham, and it just kept making him more and more good looking and more ripped. And Gia, it kept making her look younger and younger. And even though I kept telling it to make her older, she was either a teenage Asian girl or she was an old lady. So yes, I've been talking about imposter syndrome and overcoming it with tools, but I'm afraid that's only part of the process. You can GitHub Copilot will help you learn, ask questions, and see different ways of doing things. But eventually you have to talk to other people. The people who form your friends, your teammates, your community will have your back. They can support you and they can lift you up. And the voice in your head that tells you are not good enough is not your friend. Do not listen to what it says. Turn to the people closest to you to overcome self-doubt. We've had a few very tough years in tech since the pandemic, and I think 2025 is going to be more of the same before it gets better. The corporate overlords do think that AI is the answer, that we can all do more with less. But I do worry that too many of us will burn out before they realize it can't do as much as they think just yet. So there's just a reminder of all the things that we have been through. Here are some resources that you might like. So there's a GitHub Copilot. Take a picture or a screenshot of this slide so that you can look those things up later. This one I put at the bottom is actually a presentation I do on how to use LinkedIn to increase your brand. It's very clear. It will help you around keyword selection and things like that for helping you get your jobs. As we are in Women in Tech month, this is our Microsoft Code Without Barriers program. It's launched in Asia, but I don't think they care where in the world you are, really. Just time zone. It's probably aimed at the Asia time zone right now. So you can join that if you identify as a woman in tech and you would like to have a community that will help you learn, that will help you grow. And there's a lot of stuff in there that is not just technical, but also around confidence building, around public speaking, around networking and building your brand and stuff like that. Another reminder that this is who I am. And then I think we are done.
Amazing. I really enjoyed, to be honest. Every single word that coming out from your mouth is like you can learn something. That's love. That's how I love to sit and listening to you. So thank you so much a lot, Michelle. It was so nice to hear all of these things that you shared with us, and this combination between using Copilot AI and bring it to how we can increase or improve our lifestyle and understand what we are and what we want. It was really great. Thank you so much for this information you shared with us.
Thank you for inviting me. It has been really nice to be here amongst your community.
Yeah, thank you. We have some comments and some questions, so I'm going to show them on screen one by one so you can basically answer them. So I have one comment question from my friend Alex. So he said, love the Lars and quote, great way to make sure you keep presenting on topics that are of interest. Can you know it all? No. Can you focus on learning what which is important every day? What is your comment here?
That's perfect. Yeah, I think he's definitely grasped what I was trying to say. So yes, perfect.
Yeah. Perfect. So we have one question here from Karima, if I'm not if I spell it correctly. With the expected percentage of hallucination, how confident are you with the Git explanations it gives you?
So I don't worry about hallucinations in code. So I do a lot of other talks around Azure, content safety, around prompt engineering, around the 4 levels of control that you can put around your AI apps to ground them in your company data, to ensure that the answers that it gives are properly grounded and that it quotes references, that you can put your, safety and content filters on there to stop jailbreaking, to stop prompt injection, stuff like that. There's 4 different levels of protection when you're talking about building AI apps with Azure. When you're talking about code and GitHub, I wouldn't describe it as hallucinating. It might offer me advice that is out of date because it has been, generally GitHub is updated, the model is updated all the time. So you have this less than you have with other models, which are more, which are updated, like ChatGPT. They didn't update that for a few years from, so it was always referencing 2021 data. But GitHub Copilot, they update that a lot more often. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's hallucinations that I worry about. It's just, is it offering me a solution that is out of date? Are there other choices? And you saw that when I'm asking it questions, I'm asking, like, what are the other choices? What are the other ways I could code it? Is there any other? So if I think that what it is offering me is not the right suggestion, I shouldn't take it. I need to try and validate that. And of course, the more experienced you are, the more you learn it. So it might be that I implement something that it has suggested in my code, and then when I try and commit that and do my pull request, a reviewer comes back and says, that's not how we're doing it anymore. We're doing it like this. That's fine. That's what reviews are for, and that is why you can't rely on the AI alone. You need to also rely on the people around you.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, that's great. There is another one. This is where I am right now. Yeah, it's part of the basically one of the comments that you mentioned it about that specific part.
Yes.
She has another question. She said, Code First Scale is like the UK's equivalent of She Codes, free coding course for women and girls worldwide, and the others, of course. I highly recommend using it. Helped me change my career to tech. Thank you so much, Shamim, that you shared this information with us.
There is a lot of free resources, not just the women coding ones, but also, yes, I like Free Code Camp, and obviously I love Microsoft Learn. So yes, a lot of good ways to get involved in communities and to learn together and to level up together.
Exactly. And I think this is the last question that we have. Regarding the experts, some people would read 1 or 2 articles and think they are an expert. At what level of learning or knowledge could I tell myself that I've reached to an expert stage? It's a really good question, right?
Yeah, so they used to say that you need 10,000 hours of learning on a topic in order to consider yourself an expert. I think that has probably changed, because the world doesn't have time to wait for you to have 10,000 hours these days. I mean, obviously, if you're a PhD, fine. But in tech, everything changes so fast that I'm not sure by the time you reach the end of your 10,000 hours, the stuff you started at the start of your 10,000 hours was already gone. I think it's more that it's different for everyone. And I often say to women when they're applying for jobs, for example, that women will look at those job descriptions and they will only apply for the job if they can meet 100% of that criteria with confidence. Whereas guys will look at the overall job and say, yeah, I think I could do that. And they're only ticking 1 or 2 boxes. They've definitely done them, but they're just like, yeah, I can do it. And they just go in there with this huge amount of confidence and convince people to believe in them. And so it is a very hard thing to believe in yourself with the confidence of a mediocre white man. But try to, that's all you need. It doesn't even need to be an expert white man. It just, you just need to have the confidence of someone if you look around your workplace, you will see there are many, many people that are not as good as you, but they are progressing faster because they are confident in it. So it's often not about how expert you are. It's about whether you believe in yourself and whether you have that continuous learning mindset. As long as you are not afraid to keep learning and acknowledge when you don't know it, that you need to ask for help, then, I think that's fine. And I don't think you need to be ticking boxes, getting all of the things and proving to yourself that you have reached this specific level. Grow every day. Just grow every day and try to build your confidence.
Yeah, that's really true. Confidence is the main part of everything. And first of all, we need to build that part instead of trying the different way of getting to that level. But what I can add here, basically, because I've got this question before as well. So instead of thinking that becoming an expert, just think how you can stay as an expert, because it's a different story. When, of course, definition of being an expert is different where you are working, on which field you are working. So I believe the most important is how much you can stay as an expert. And it's connected to that point Michelle just mentioned, just continue learning. And doesn't matter on which level you are, if you are like a person just joined to this area, or you are in this area, I don't know, for 20 years, you just need to keep learning, because it's pretty much fast growing technology, and you just need to learn. And now we have AI, and combination of AI, Microsoft Learn documentation, or other type of documentation, you have this opportunity to stay as an expert for a long time. Just you need to learn how you can use these kind of tools.
Yeah, and the story that I told about Gia, my grad hire, she solved the problem in 2 seconds that Graham and I took a whole day and still couldn't figure out. And we are much more senior than she is. It isn't often your expertise, it is your diversity of thoughts. It is what you bring to the table that other people in your team are not bringing. That can be the thing that solves the problem in 2 seconds.
Exactly. That's true. Perfect. Yeah. So we have some amazing thanks from the comments. So yeah, and then we have this one as well. And yeah, you're welcome. And the last part is related to Microsoft exam vouchers. So we haven't had that much questions in the comments. So what do you think if instead of giving out 1 exam voucher, we giving out 2 or 3 exam vouchers, because we already had like 2 people pretty much active. So what do you think if we give exam vouchers to these of people that they were active?
I think that would be great, because I am a huge advocate of doing Microsoft exams, and I think it's great to have those on your LinkedIn profile. I think they definitely help and demonstrate that you have your expertise. I was in Microsoft actually 8 years in a relationship manager role, and I was not able to move into a technical role because people saw me as a relationship person, a relationship manager. And then I did like a bunch of Microsoft certifications, and all of a sudden they thought I was the smartest, most technical person in the office. And I was able to move into my developer engagement role, which was great. But, you know, anyone that does those exams knows it doesn't prove you have more expertise than you have. It just proves that you are staying up to date with your knowledge, and that you know, I guess, what you're talking about that's current now. And so I think that without those, I could not have moved into this role. And I have a master's in computing science, and I have 20 plus years in IBM, in Microsoft, in, you know, global roles around the world. But it was those certifications that made a difference to my career change. So definitely, the more you can give out, the more people that can do them, the better it is.
Yeah, you know, passing exam, having Microsoft certification or any type of certification, I believe it's a kind of sign to can show people that you are passionate about learning. That's what I can interpret these kind of exam and certifications.
Yeah.
Amazing. Then yes, we will contact to Karima and Shamim. We have your email address, and we will send the vouchers to you, and hope you use it and share your success story and success journey with us in LinkedIn with me and Michelle. So yeah, then
Yes.
yeah, I think we are done. So thank you so much again, Michelle, and hope we see you again on Microsoft Zero to Hero stage next year. The call for a speaker is open now, and so I hope to see you again on stage for 2025. So yeah, is there anything that you would like to add for the last one?
Thanks for all staying with me today. It was great to speak to this community. And the other thing I would mention is not just the certifications, there are applied skills that you can try now. And those applied skills, you don't need an exam voucher. You can do the assessment lab for free. You can, if you fail it, you can try it again after 72 hours for free. It will give you a certificate at the end. And the difference between the two things is the certifications prove you have the knowledge over the domain expertise over the topic, and the applied skills show that you can use the tools. So I think that's also super useful for working in industry. You know, they can be shaky because they are a new thing. We've only had them for a year, but they are introducing more and more topics, and I think they're really good as well. So give those a try over your Christmas holidays.
Yes, thank you so much that you mentioned about that. I love applied skills. It's pretty much, you know, it's super, you know, fun environment that not only you can test your knowledge, but also you can learn more. So please check it out and try it out. So yeah, thank you so much again, Michelle. Everyone, please enjoy your weekend, and make sure that you registered for December sessions as well. So yeah, see you again on next live session.
Thanks, everyone.